Hey guys, welcome back. This is the one and only coming to you with a 2022 spring/summer buying guide for the Apple Watch line. I get asked this question just about every single day. Which Apple Watch is right for me? Currently on Apple's website, you can snag a variety of different watch sizes and different series. So you have the Series 3 to choose from, the Apple Watch SE, and also the Series 7. So the question is, which one is the right fit for me? Well, no worries. I'm going to try to answer all of that in this in-depth and very comprehensive guide so that you are fully aware of all the features that come included with your specific Apple Watch, as well as trying to piece together whether it's a good bang for the buck. There's a lot we're about to go over. Some of you guys know me as a bandaholic. I'm not sure if you can tell by all the bands on my band wall right behind me, but I am very well versed in the Apple Watch. I've actually had the Apple Watch since the Series 2 and have upgraded every single year since then. So without further ado, we have a lot to talk about, so let's go ahead and roll that intro. Alrighty guys, we're not gonna waste any time. We're gonna get right into the nitty gritty, starting with pricing. So of the three available models, once again, we have the Series 3, the Apple Watch SE, as well as the Series 7. The cheapest offering, being almost 5 years old, will start out at $199. That is for the Apple Watch Series 3. Now, of all these starting prices, those prices are for the smaller form factor. So if any of you guys know, the Apple Watch comes traditionally in two sizes. You got the smaller variant and then a larger variant with a larger screen size. Now, over the years, Apple has enlarged the screens, and so it has become a little confusing, almost cumbersome to try to explain the differences, but I'll do the best I can. So starting with the Series 3, your different options are the 38mm casing size and the larger 42mm casing size. Now, for every increase in size, it's roughly about $30 or so. So for every starting price, if you want the larger size, just add $30 to that starting price. The Apple Watch SE, on the other hand, did receive a screen enlargement back when the Series 4 was released about 3 years ago, and its starting price is $279 for the 40mm casing size. It just sounds like 2mm and it doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, it does make a difference while being on the wrist. For $30 more, you can upgrade to the larger 44mm casing size, and that watch starts at $309. And finally, we have the largest of the bunch, the Series 7, which comes in the 41mm size, and that starts at $399, already twice the price of the Series 3. So is it worth it to pay double the price for the Series 7? We're about to find out, but let's not forget we still have to finish with the 45mm sizing, which is my preferred size and is the one that I have right here. That one starts out at $429. Now, sizing aside, it is important to realize that the Series 3 and the Apple Watch SE only come in aluminum casing variants. You're not gonna find any of those fancier materials like stainless steel or the Edition titanium watches. That is only reserved for the Series 7. So if you want something a little snazzier, a little fancier, then going the Series 7 route is probably going to be much preferred. Just do realize that the Edition watches and the stainless steel variants are going to come in with the Apple tax. Their starting prices are much, much higher. For example, a Series 7 in the 45mm size with stainless steel comes in at $749. That's a good chunk of money for most people, if you ask me. Okay, now that we have pricing out of the way, let's dissect each watch a little further. So if we put them side by side, we'll notice that the casings over the years and over the generations started to become a lot rounder. During the Series 3 era, it was a very square design, and in today's standards looks very archaic. It's kind of crazy how technology can look so old in just a matter of years. The SE and Series 4 expanded the screen and made the corners a little rounder, and then the Series 7 did that just a step further, now with even slimmer bezels and also being a lot more rounded. It almost even looks flush there around the corners. It looks really, really nice. And in comparison to the Series 3, like I said, the screen sizes and the bezels are very drastic and very apparent. We're gonna get into screen differences in just a bit. But on the left-hand side, you can see your microphone and speaker array, which on the SE and the Series 7, we only have our speaker on the left-hand side. On the Series 3, you had both the microphones and the speakers on the same side, and they were switched, to reduce interference and to help reduce just ambient noise. So now flipping the watch over to the right hand side, you'll see that the microphone, like I told you, is right underneath the digital crown on the Series 7 and also on the SE. But if you look and examine the digital crown on the Series 3, the little notches there don't go all the way around the digital crown. That's only reserved for the Series 7 and the SE. Why was that design tweaked? I don't know. I mean, aesthetically, it does look a lot better with those ridges just being all the way around the digital crown. That's just my opinion though. And then if you look at your sleep wake button, on the Series 3, it doesn't sit flush and it was actually raised a little bit. On the Series 7 and SE, that wake and sleep button sits flush with the rest of the material, which gives it a nicer look. It's important also to know that the Series 7 and the Apple Watch SE do have haptic feedback. So whenever I scroll through the digital crown, the little haptic motor found inside the SE and Series 7 gives it a little vibration, and it adds that little extra touch that makes the SE and the Series 7 seem a little more pristine. You don't get any of that haptic feedback on the Series 3. Alright, so now flipping the watches over on the backside, and this is where you'll begin to notice a lot more differences. They each contain their own arrangement of sensors on the backside, but as you can see with each successive generation, the sensors got more and more improved. On the Series 3, we have a composite back, which is basically a plastic, and the backside of this is very prone to scratches, whereas the SE and the Series 7 have sapphire glass and ceramic backs, which are less susceptible to scratches. And all watches at the very top and bottom have this little notch here that if you press, that will release the Apple Watch strap or band. Now, thankfully, up until the Series 7, all the bands are still interchangeable. So long as you have the correct size, they will fit each other. So for example, all of these are the larger sizes of their respective generation. So we have the 42mm for the Series 3, the 44mm for the SE, and the 45mm on the Series 7. And if I wanted to, I could swap out the bands and they all fit. There are rumors that maybe the Series 8 might have a new design and therefore make the bands non-compatible. And let's just say that would be a very, very, very sad day for me. Let's hope that doesn't happen. So here's the thing though, if you want the latest and greatest tech hardware with all the best health sensors and features, the Series 7 is definitely the way to go. As you can see, comparing the SE and the Series 3 has the first generation health sensors, whereas the SE has the second generation. Both of these feature irregular heart rhythm notifications. What this means is that, let's say you're sleeping and all of a sudden your heart rate starts shooting up for no reason, the Apple Watch Series 3 and SE will alert you as to what is going on with that elevated heart rate, which has reportedly saved some lives. And these kind of features are everything in the Apple Watch. Over the years, the health features have just gotten better and better. Which leads me to all the nice features found on the Series 7, including the blood oxygen app, as well as the ECG app. The ECG app came out first during the Series 4, and let me demonstrate it for you. So basically, you just hold the digital crown while keeping contact on it for 30 seconds, and the Apple Watch Series 7 will be able to determine if your heart rate has any irregular patterns to them, which could then be diagnosed as atrial fibrillation. If it does sense that, then I would suggest first talk with your doctor, as this is not a self-diagnosis machine. It's just a tool to help you manage your health and could prevent future diseases later on in the future. Apart from that, like I mentioned, it does have a blood oxygen app. This, of course, lets you know how much oxygen is in your blood. Now, according to my readings, apparently mine are pretty healthy. So I'm not a doctor or anything, so I don't know the benchmarks on what's considered healthy and what's not. All I know is that mine is near 100%, and anything other than that should concern you. And once again, you should consult your doctor or physician with those kinds of readings. They're really nice features to have, but to be completely honest with you, initially they seem very gimmicky, as when you first get your Apple Watch, you do an ECG maybe twice, 3 times, and then you might take your blood oxygen level. But to be completely honest, I rarely ever use those apps anymore. Initially, I'm like, okay, I'm healthy, but that's why I do get yearly physicals with my doctor to better gauge at where I am health-wise. So again, these are tools that help you analyze and see potential risks in your health later on in the future. So it is really nice to have them there. What I like to use the heart sensors for is when I'm working out. So while I'm at the gym or out for a run, the workout app is constantly monitoring my health rate, and it gives me a good indication of whether I need to pick up the pace or slow down a little bit. Once again, if you want the best sensors available, which means the best workout tracking, the best health sensors, a blood oxygen app, and an ECG app, the Series 7 is definitely the way to go. Neither the SE nor the Series 3 have those apps that I just mentioned, so there's no blood oxygen monitoring on the SE or Series 3, and no ECG app. Alright, so now that we went over some of the health features, let's discuss the rest of the features that are found on the Series 7 and that aren't found on the SE and the Series 3. All three watches share some similarities and similar features. For example, all three are water resistant up to 50 meters. So I have seen a lot of people who are afraid to go to the pool with their Apple Watch attached. Don't worry, you're not going to get electrocuted or anything. As long as you're within 50 meters, anything past that depth is probably a no-go. So rest assured you can take any of these watches into the pool with you and it'll be just fine. But as I discussed, there are some key differences. For example, the SE and the Series 7 have a compass, an always-on altimeter. However, the Series 3 does have an altimeter, but it is an older generation and it's not the always-on altimeter. Additionally, the SE and Series 7, as you can see by that red ring around the digital crown, means that these are compatible to be connected to a cellular plan. Now, I normally have never found any use connecting my Apple Watches to a cellular plan because let's be completely honest, how many times is your iPhone not on you? My iPhone is almost always with me continuously, and so is my Apple Watch when it's not being charged. So I don't really find a use to add a cellular plan to my Apple Watch, but if for some reason you do go extended periods away from your iPhone and only have your Apple Watch on you, then that may be something that you might be interested in. Other features found on the SE and Series 7 that are not on the Series 3 is fall detection. So once again, there have been plenty of reports of people who have fallen and potentially had their lives saved. Since the Apple Watch's technology is so smart on the SE and Series 7, if it detects a fall and if you become unresponsive after a while, a notification will pop up. And if you don't answer that notification, then SOS emergency services will be called. And that leads me to another point. The tracking on the Series 7 and the SE is a lot better thanks to the always-on altimeter, but the Series 7 does have an edge thanks to the U1 chip that's found inside, and this is the same chip that's present on other Apple products, and this is the chip that allows the compass and also tracking to be a lot more reliable. Other products that utilize this are your iPhone and other accessories such as AirTags, so you can find all of your items on the Find My app. So speaking of, let's discuss of the chipsets found inside. The Series 3 obviously is going to have one of the older dual-core S3 chips, which nowadays in 2022 is severely lagging. You really can't tell when I'm scrolling around the screen, but when you open up certain applications, man, does it start to take a while. As you've come to see, the Series 3 in 2022 appears to be a less viable option just because you have a lot better options like the SE for roughly just $80 more. The Apple Watch SE is going to feature the dual-core S5 chip, which is still holding its ground, but nothing compares with the current S7 dual-core chip found inside the Series 7 that is the freshest chip available and is extremely snappy. It's never given me any issues. The Series 7 has never given me any problems. It's never slowed down on me. I've never seen any lag on it. So it's the fastest and most reliable chipset currently available. So if speed is any importance to you, although speed isn't necessarily detrimental to an Apple Watch like it is on a MacBook or an iPhone, it's still nice to know that the Series 7 is going to be the snappiest with the lowest latency. Which reminds me, the Series 3 is going to feature the W2 chip, whereas the other two feature the W3 chip. I know it's a lot of chips in there. The W2 and the W3 basically is for pairing. So whenever you first open up an Apple Watch, the more advanced W3 chip is going to have a lot lower latency when you're pairing your Apple Watch, and it's more reliable. The Series 3 featuring the W2 chip, when pairing it up sometimes for some reason just shows errors, and it's quite annoying to try to pair this. And not only that, but it does take a much longer time to pair a Series 3 to an iPhone than the other two options. All right, so now let's finally dig into the displays, because that is one of the biggest factors that's gonna either steer you away or allow you to be more confident with your purchase. So on watch faces that feature a black background, you can't really tell a difference. It's only whenever you have a full watch face where you're really able to see the enormous bezels of the Apple Watch Series 3. The Series 3, like I said, is just more of a square design, and God, those bezels are enormous. So once again, here are some differences. You can see that the Series 3 just looks god awful with those enormous bezels. The SE hides them a little better. It does have an advantage that it has a much larger screen, and then you have the always on Retina display, the largest display found on the Series 7. And so that adds a nice factor to the Series 7 in the fact that it's always on. So most watch faces have two versions to them. It's the face where when you flick your wrist and everything lights up in all of its glory as it was intended, but as soon as you flick the wrist away, the display is still on, it's just dimly lit with less complications and less noise going on the display at the time. But it resembles a classic watch a lot more. So for example, on the SE and Series 3, if you don't raise your wrist to look at the display, it's just black. And so anyone else looking at your wrist while you're doing something, all they're gonna see is a black display. Whereas on the Series 7, even if you don't have your wrist raised up to view the display, it still has the time on it, which can be really nice when you just really quickly need to glance at it. As the Series 3, sometimes even when you raise your wrist, it's a little finicky, it's older technology, it doesn't get it right all the time. So the Series 7 has a huge advantage there. Not only that, but the Series 7 also has the most crack resistant front crystal certified IP6X dust resistant display. Now that sounds like a lot, I know, but the new display and the glass found on the Series 7 has saved my butt a ton of times. For example, there's times where I accidentally bang up my Apple Watch against my car door or a doorknob, and thankfully, the screen is very resistant to scratches and cracks. I did have a silver Series 3 before, and I dropped it from maybe a 2-foot height, and that did crack. So it just goes to show that you could bang up the Series 7, obviously just don't go too hard, and rest assured that the screen is pretty resistant to the occasional bangs here and there. So like I mentioned, the few extra millimeters on paper sounds minuscule, but on the wrist is where you'll really be able to see a big difference. So I have all three on my wrist right now. From left to right is the Series 3, followed by the SE, and then the Series 7 on the right. So now if you have a standard watch face that doesn't take up the entire screen, it's not as obvious as you can see here. But let me just swap the wallpaper to an all white background, and this is where you will really start to see the difference. As you can see, the Series 3 looks atrocious with that tiny square display, and the eyesore of the bezels is just yuck. The SE once again does a little better, so the SE is a perfect middle ground. But if you want the biggest display showcasing as much screen real estate as possible, then the Series 7 is definitely going to be up your alley. On paper, Apple says that the Series 7 has 20% more screen real estate than the SE. So there you have it, guys. There are the display differences. Hopefully this helps you guys, especially having them right next to each other so that you can really notice the differences in the sizings. Once again, I do want to reiterate that all three of these watches are the biggest sizes available when they were released. So of course, if you want to compare something like the 38mm Series 3 to the 45mm Series 7, then obviously that's not really a fair contest. So it's nice comparing the same sizes within their own generations and having us see the differences side by side. Now we have just a few more features to go, I promise, before I go into the buyer's guide section where I tell you guys my thoughts on each individual Apple Watch. But in terms of storage, the Series 7 and the SE are a little more generous, coming in with 32 gigabytes of storage, whereas the Series 3 has a minuscule 8 gigabytes. On Apple Watches, storage isn't really that big of a deal unless you are planning to download songs directly onto the Apple Watch. And there are some useful apps here and there that I use. For example, I use certain apps to track my water intake and as well as my sleep progress. So if you feel like you'd like to experiment with all of these kinds of different apps, then the Series 3 will limit you a lot, seeing as it only has 8 gigabytes of storage and the OS already takes up a sizable chunk of that. Going on to battery, Apple claims they all have the same 18-hour all-day battery, but in the real world, that's not really all that accurate. The Series 3 will drain considerably quicker versus the other two, and that's because of different factors. Mainly, it has to do with the chipset found inside. The S3 chip found inside the Series 3 is just really starting to show its age, and it does not compare in the slightest to the mighty S7 chip. It's just a lot snappier, it's much quicker, and it preserves battery much better. So realistically, if I were to put on the Series 3 in the morning, and granted, I don't use my Apple Watch heavily. I mean, I just use it like the regular person does, just has it on the wrist, has a workout. I might answer a phone call on it here and there. If I were to put my Apple Watch at 7 a.m., then by 7 p.m., I probably have to charge my Series 3 as it's almost to zero battery. Now, on the other hand, on the other two, they definitely last me on average what Apple claims. I can put both of those on at 7 in the morning, and by 10 or 11 p.m., they still have about 10% juice left in them. So yeah, that is what I would consider all day. I am planning an Apple Watch battery drain test. I've never done it on my channel. It's just a little harder to do a drain test on watches versus something like iPhones or MacBooks or iPads. So if you guys have any suggestions on what I should do for a battery drain test comparing these three, let me know in the comments below. All right, and the last thing, I just wanted you guys to listen to the differences between the speakers, because as you can see, the speaker on the S3 on the left-hand side, you have two little pill-shaped speakers, and they're just atrocious. They're not even really that good. The Apple Watch SE has two elongated pill-shaped speakers that are much larger, and it does have a considerable upgrade in terms of sound quality coming out of the speaker. And then the Series 7 has one singular pill-shaped speaker, and it's the best of them all. So without me telling you guys about them, just take a listen for yourself.
It's currently cloudy and 63 degrees in New York, New York. It's currently cloudy and 63 degrees in New York, New York. It's currently cloudy and 63 degrees in New York, New York.
Alright guys, so we went over a lot. Now it's time to get to the buyer's portion of the video, and here are my final thoughts. Starting first with the Apple Watch Series 3. Who is this watch really for? Short answer, absolutely nobody. This is a complete waste of money if you ask me. Now, what I suspect is happening is Apple wants to cater to those individuals who have no knowledge whatsoever about tech, like at all. The fact that this is $200, being almost a 5-year-old watch, is kind of remarkable. And I mean that in the bad way. This thing is slow as molasses, the battery doesn't even last a full day, the design is just really archaic, but it seems like Apple's just trying to get rid of some excess inventory. I mean, I don't know, right? Who knows? I just wholeheartedly can't even recommend this to anybody. Under no circumstances would I recommend this, because just for $80 more, you get a much more advanced, much more modern design, and a much snappier SE in your choice of aluminum colors. So the SE, now going on to this one. This is probably going to be the best bet for the majority of people, especially those casuals who don't need all the fancy bells and whistles. Considering also that it's June of 2022, Apple should be releasing new Apple Watches later in September or maybe even possibly October. So given that information, the Series 7 should be bought with caution. The Series 7 is set to be replaced soon by the new flagship, presumably being called the Series 8, very, very soon. However, the Series 8 is set to have a brand new redesign according to rumors. I may have to make a separate video on the new Series 8 redesign rumors. So, once again, Series 3, I do not recommend for absolutely nobody. For just a little bit more money, you can upgrade to the much better Apple Watch SE that does come with a much more modern, much more rounded design, and overall, this will future-proof you for many, many years to come. The S5 in here should last you a good couple of years, and you get the best bang for your buck with the SE. See, the thing about the Series 3 is that it is already so far behind in terms of chipset. The S3 in 2022 has no business being here. So if you can, try to avoid this one. If you're given the Series 3 as a gift, I mean, don't be an a-hole, be appreciative, but just know that there's much better offerings out there available. And like I said, if you want the premium, the big boy, the Series 7, which is the only iteration that Apple sells right now that comes in stainless steel or titanium offerings. So, if you do want to pay a little extra for a better, more classier, fancier kind of casing like stainless steel, or maybe other colors such as space black titanium, then the Series 7 is the way to go. Sure, you're going to pay a much heftier premium, but I'm very content with my Series 7. And the fact that it has all those health features, the fall detection, the ECG, the blood oxygen monitor, those are just extra features that if you're into them, they will go a long way and you'll sure to enjoy those extra added features. So guys, I think in the end, whatever option you choose, so long as it's not the Series 3, I think you're gonna be very, very happy. I did want to mention one last thing. The SE does come in aluminum, but you only have 3 options. You have gold, which is this rosy gold here, silver, and space gray. But the Series 7, those aluminum offerings also come in a variety of other colors, including blue, product red, and the all new green color, as well as starlight and midnight. So guys, let me know what your thoughts are on the Apple Watch line. I have enjoyed the Apple Watches ever since the Series 2, and I have not gone back. The way the Apple Watch interacts within the Apple ecosystem is really unique. Many times the Apple Watch replaces my iPhone. Like for example, when I'm in class and I get a notification, instead of popping out my phone and getting distracted, I can make a quick decision whether I want to reply straight off of my phone or not. Which leads me to one last final point. The Series 7 does have a full-size keyboard, so you're actually able to type on it like you would on your iPhone. Now, of course, it is a much smaller screen, but believe it or not, it's very accurate. I know that there's some AI going on in there with the presses. It probably predicts what you're about to press, but it's just really nice, and it's a lot better than the tiny keyboard that is found on the Series 3, if you even want to call it a keyboard. You have to go letter by letter, drawing each letter individually, and many times it gets it just flat out wrong. So it's really nice to have that full-size keyboard on the Series 7. So guys, once again, let me know what you guys think. Which is your favorite Apple Watch? And if you bought a prior version, which one do you have? I rock the Series 7 almost every single day. But guys, please drop your thoughts down below. I have also included some links down in the video description on some Amazon links where some of these watches are currently on sale and you can save a good bit of money on them. So guys, that's been it for me. I'm clocking out for now. Make sure you hit that red subscribe button. Destroy the like button as it helps this video reach more eyes. And who knows, there might be someone who you know, maybe a friend, an acquaintance, or a family member who might find this video useful. So definitely share it with them if you're able to. All right guys, catch you on the next one.